Now let's turn to the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Adam Smith of Washington. Congressman, thank you for being with me this morning. How optimistic are you that your colleagues are going to be able to agree on a funding bill and keep the government open?
Well, I think it's likely. I also think it's problematic, because sort of lost in all of this is that the government's been operating on a continuing resolution since October 1st. So that means we're 2.5 months into the fiscal year without appropriations bills. And Speaker Johnson's proposal would take us to the end of March. So we would go 6 months without actual spending bills. I think there's an assumption out there that a CR, appropriations bills, what's the difference? Huge difference. Government functioning on a CR is not efficient and is incredibly problematic. The Pentagon is over half of the discretionary budget. They can't start new programs, and they have to continue old programs, and they can't really plan for the future. And I really want to emphasize that the only reason that we don't have actual appropriations bills right now is because Speaker Johnson is once again doing the bidding of the extreme right wing of his caucus. The overwhelming majority of members in the House and the Senate could quickly pass actual appropriations bills and really fund the government. But Speaker Johnson doesn't want to risk alienating a few folks from the far right who might then not vote for him for Speaker on January 3rd. So the government stays shut down. The Defense Department is, well, crippled is an overstatement, but wounded. Our ability to meet our national security objectives is harmed by doing a CR instead of passing appropriations bills. And again, the only reason we're doing that harm, and this also applies to all the other discretionary spending programs, the only reason we're doing that harm is because Speaker Johnson doesn't want to risk losing a vote for Speaker on January 3rd. So I think there's more damage going on here than is being reported.
Well, I can tell you what's not a continuing resolution is this $895 billion defense policy bill that passed on Wednesday. That bill, it includes a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender children of U.S. service members. And there's been a lot of pushback from you and other Democratic colleagues of yours. Where do we go from here? What happens next with this bill?
Well, I mean, look, the bill's going to pass. It passed the House 281 to 141. The Senate's keyed up to pass it, and the president will sign it. And look, it's a really good bill with one exception. It has a lot of provisions in there specifically to help enlisted service members who have been struggling to make it because of pay. We dramatically increased their pay and a variety of other benefits for them to really improve the quality of life for our service members. That's good. There's a lot of other good things in the bill. But again, because Speaker Johnson wanted to make sure that he didn't offend the far right, he had to put in this bigoted anti-trans provision, which is a partisan wedge issue, which in the past, on a bipartisan basis, those of us on the Armed Services Committee have resisted putting those things in there. Even Mike Rogers, my partner, colleague, and chairman of the Armed Services Committee, said the anti-trans provision had no business being in this bill. So it's going to pass, and it's really unfortunate that this provision is part of it.
So, Congressman, you're the ranking member on Armed Services. We were just talking about a bill that, as you said, was bigoted toward trans service members. We're talking about the potential confirmation of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, who in the past has not been bashful about his stances, even as he's tried to walk them back, about who should serve. Is our country trending in the right direction around who we allow in the armed services and how we allow them to serve and welcome and support them?
No, it's not. We have way too much of the culture clash going on. And on the right, they have a hard time walking away from old policies. And I have unfortunately read some of the excerpts from Peter Hegseth's books that he's written, how he is critical of women, critical of gay people, critical of trans people serving in the military. And that's not good and not helpful. There are a lot of women, there are a lot of gay people, there are a lot of trans people in this country. They are highly capable. We need that talent. If they want to serve in the military, we should allow them because they are perfectly capable of doing so. And this sort of bigoted, outdated thinking that Peter Hegseth has exhibited, and I'm not talking 20 years ago when he was a college student or something. I'm talking in a book that he put out like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago maybe. Now, allegedly, he has been saying behind scenes, oh, no, I would never do such a thing. But I don't trust him, and I don't trust the Trump administration to not give in to the far right. And they do it under the guise of the anti-wokeness. And look, I represent Seattle, King County. Some of the extreme left-wing identity politics stuff I think is really problematic in the way we govern around here. It's not happening in the military. What the military is doing is they're very intelligently figuring out we need women, we need gay people, we need trans people. These are communities that have historically been discriminated against and ignored. Let's go get that talent and make our military better. So people like Peter Hegseth and others are conflating those things and really advancing bigoted, outmoded thinking that I think is going to harm the readiness and capability of our military by excluding people from it for no good reason.
Thank you, Congressman. On behalf of feds, and I was a fed for many years and sat through 2 government shutdowns, I really hope that you and your colleagues on the Hill can do everything possible to keep the lights on.